hope that you've enjoyed church so far. We're in for a treat this morning. We get to have a founding pastor of South Hills Church, Pastor Chris Sonksen, is going to bring the word this morning. He's going to encourage you. He's going to inspire you. And here's the thing. We wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for Pastor Chris and his wife, Laura, stepping out in faith over 25 years ago to start the church that they believe God put in their heart called South Hills. And so can we give him a massive South Hills Burbank welcome as he comes to bring the word? Come on, get up on your feet, make some noise as Pastor Chris Sonksen comes to encourage you this morning.
Very kind. You can sit down. Thank you. Very kind of you. How's everybody doing today? Oh, come on. I always say we're in church. It's the best place to be all week long. So how's everybody doing today? Come on. Yeah. It is so good to be able to be with you today and be able to share with you from my heart. And if you don't know who I am, my wife and I are the founding pastors of South Hills Church. We have 12 locations. My wife and I started the church many years ago. And then 3 years ago, we handed it off to our executive pastor. And so I'm still participating, helping with South Hills, just not on a full-time basis. We spend a lot of our time coaching other pastors and churches across America and rescuing dying churches. And so that's what we're doing a lot of. More importantly than that, if you don't know who I am, I have been married for 33 years. Yes! To my beautiful Mexican wife. And, woo, she's hot. And call her my little hot tamale. We've been married for 33 years. She doesn't speak any English, but that helps us get along. We can't argue with each other. We don't even understand each other. But no, she's absolutely amazing. And we have two amazing children. And then we have this third one. No, I'm talking about, we have two amazing children. We have two grandchildren. We have a 4-year-old. Oh, best thing in the world. I remember my daughter was like, Dad, I'm pregnant. I'm like, I'm not ready for the title. Once the baby came along, I'm like, forget the title. This is amazing. And we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, Mila and Ella. How many grandparents do we have here? Come on, let's honor. Isn't that the best thing on the planet? It's way better than parenting. Grandkids is God's gift to you for you not killing your own kid. That's really what it is. I was holding my granddaughter recently in my arms, and my adult son says to me, Dad, it's like you love her more. I said, no, it's not like I do. I do. You had a good run. It's over for you. So they're just absolutely amazing. We just love it, love grandparenting. And but anyway, hey, I'm excited to be able to be with you today, be able to hang out and minister. If you got a Bible, go to John chapter 5. We're going to look at John chapter 5 in a moment. If you don't have a Bible, next time at a hotel, get one. They're free. I steal them and then sell them on eBay. It's a side hustle. John 5 is what we're going to look at in just a moment, be able to share with you. So let's lean in, man. Let's have an amazing time together as we look at God's word and talk with each other. So a few years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, some of you might remember this, but 7, 8 years ago, me and my buddy, we went to Costa Rica. And there is the really beautiful side of Costa Rica, and then there's not so beautiful side of Costa Rica, more of a third world side. We went to the third world side. And he's a pastor, and we went there, me and him, to go speak at a bunch of conferences and whatever for like a week. And so we realized one night after a certain conference, I'm like, hey, do you realize tomorrow we got the whole day off? And he's like, yeah. And I go, the whole day, man. We don't have to do nothing in the day, nothing at night. This is amazing. What are we going to do? He goes, I don't know, man. Let's ask the lady at the front desk of the hotel. Maybe she'll give us an idea. So we go up to the front desk. Hey, we got the whole day off. If you were us, what would you do? And she says, she goes, if I were you, with broken English, she goes, I would go to the Sarapiqui River and I would go zip lining. How many have ever zip lined before in here? Anybody here? A lot of you. Okay. How many have ever done it in a third world country? Very different. Because here in America, we use a cable, and then over there, it's like dental floss. It's very different. And so we thought, okay, man, we'll go zip lining. That sounds really amazing, And we were going to go to the Sarapiqui River. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's where they filmed Jurassic Park. And so it's beautiful there. I mean, beautiful. So I'm like, okay, man, sign us up. And by the way, zip lining, if you don't know what it is, basically it's a tree, a cable for another tree 50 yards away. They put a little harness on you and a clip, and you do a Tarzan thing, and you zip line down. And that's pretty much what zip lining is. You kind of do one of these things that, 16 runs, takes a few hours to do. It's really fun. But because in Costa Rica, there's big ravines in the rainforest, there are points where you're 60 stories in the air. You are 60 stories in the air, one cable, one harness, one clip. That's it. Something breaks, you're done. So I'm like, all right, man, we'll do it, though, because I love that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, man, let's do it. So we wake up in the morning, and they said, okay, the bus will pick you up. It's part of the program or whatever. So the bus picks us up. They're going to take us to the Sarapiqui River. There's the bus driver, right, on 7 in the morning the next morning. Bus driver, the guy that's in charge of the whole event, you know, and there's 3 other people and me and my friend. So basically, there's 5 passengers on the bus. Very weird for something that seats 65 people. We go deep, we go up for 2 hours, and I'm telling you, we are deep into the rainforest. We go all the way up deep into the rainforest, you know, and we're way out in the middle. I mean, we're in Nowheresville, where they filmed Jurassic Park, and I look at my buddy, I'm like, they're going to kill us. That's why we're here. We're going to be on Dateline. And so we go all the way up 2 hours. Okay, done, bus ride's over. 1 hour boat ride down a river, the Sarapiqui River. There are alligators everywhere. You can see them everywhere. And then 1 hour horseback ride. And there are monkeys flying around. It's like the Wizard of Oz. And it's crazy. A couple of you got that. Some of you are like, what does that have to do? What's the Wizard of Oz? Is that a video game? And but anyway, we go, wait, so 2 hour bus ride, 1 hour boat ride, 1 hour horseback ride, we'll finally get to the place. There's a hut right there, you know, and we go up to this little hut in the middle of like just nowhere, you know, and they're like, okay, here you go, you know, they're giving us all the harnesses, getting us all set up, you know, and the guy goes, okay, go with him. I said, okay, and so we start walking, the 5 of us, and I go, by the way, sir, the guy in the hut, I said, I got a question for you. He goes, okay, yes, and I go, don't we need to sign anything? And I love his answer. He goes, for what? And I'm thinking, I go, what if we die? Like, aren't you afraid of getting sued? And he goes, oh, you foolish Americans. He goes, if you die, we leave. And I was like, that's it? You roll up the dental floss and then you're out of here. But we go on this thing, you know, I'll never forget it. You know, we're going down the zip lines, and it was just beautiful and amazing, 60 stories in the air. It is scary, and it's crazy all the way down. They're about halfway down where I get to this one tree. There's me and the guide, and we're standing there, you know, and you put your hook onto this little hook in the tree, and you kind of just lean against the tree. It's really weird. And the other people are coming down, and the guide in charge of our life is really, really young. At least he looks really young. So I'm sitting there on the tree, and I look at him. I'm like, hey, man, as we're waiting for the other people, I go, how old are you? And the guy, the one that's in charge of our life. And I go, how old are you? He goes, 15. I go, what did you say? He goes, 17? Like that made it better. I'm like, dude, that still sounds really scary. And so anyway, had an amazing time. We get done, had an incredible time. Back onto the horseback, back onto the river, you know, for an hour ride, boat ride, and then back onto the bus. We get on the bus. It's raining off and on like it does in a rainforest. We get on the bus within, I don't know, half mile. We get stuck in the mud. Now we're stuck in the mud. Everybody gets off the bus. The guy goes, you get off the bus, you must push. So we're all pushing the bus. Mud is flying up. I look over at my friend. I'm like, this wasn't in the brochure. It's all right there. And mud's flying up. And it made me think about this time that I want to share with you for a few minutes today about how often you and I can get stuck in the mud in our life. Where all of a sudden we get stuck. And we feel like we get to this place, I call it being stuck in the wall or stuck in the mud, where it's like, man, I thought I would be farther along in life than I am right now. I thought my career would be better. I thought my marriage would be better. I thought I wouldn't be in debt like I am. I thought I wouldn't be addicted to this certain thing. I thought I would be farther along in life than I am right now. And it kind of goes like this. Let me show you real quick. Here's a great illustration. This is called life before the wall. Say life before the wall. Okay, this is you. This is life before the wall. Everything's great. Everybody's happy. The Dodgers are winning, whoever your team is, whatever. Okay, life is great, life is wonderful, life is going good. Then all of a sudden you get to this point right here where you have life in the wall. Okay, now you're in the wall, and we all get there. Now maybe we're there, feel like our whole life's there, or maybe we're partly there, but we get in the wall. We get in the wall because we're addicted to something. We get in the wall because we're having a problem in our marriage. We get in the wall because we're still in debt. We get in the wall because we're not where we thought we'd be in life. We get in the wall because we still haven't forgiven that person that hurt us 6 years ago. We get stuck inside of a wall. And here's the thing. is at the ultimate choice is this. Here it is. Ready? You have two really choices when it comes to this. You either, now watch, this is so important. You either stay stuck in the wall. That is an option. It's a bad one, but it is an option. Or you get to the other side of the wall. But understand something. There's no such thing as life before the wall anymore. That's over. So you really only have, and I really only have two choices, because I feel I'm a little stuck in the wall today. Okay, and I'm in my life, just being transparent with you, and we all feel that. Okay, we get stuck in the wall, maybe a little of us, or a lot of our life, or whatever. We have two choices: stay in the wall or get to the other side of the wall. But there's no such thing as life before the wall anymore. It's over. So we really only have two choices. Here we are at 2024. Here we are in the last Sunday of 2024. We have a decision to make. We're either going to stay the same or get to the other side of the wall. We're going to let 2025 be the same as 2024. Maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't. But in that area of your life where you feel stuck, you're either going to stay there or you're going to get to the other side of the wall. One day, Jesus in John chapter 5 had an amazing conversation with a guy that was really sick. Now, here's the story, okay? I want you to picture it, let your mind's eye draw it out. Jesus walks into these big gates. It's the Jerusalem gates because there's a holy festival going on, a big party, a festival. They would do it annually, okay? It's going on, this big festival. I've been there. It's a big old gate. You walk through this thing, and there's a big festival going on. He walks over to the pool of Bethesda. The Bethesda, that word actually means mercy. So he walks over to a pool. That's probably about the size of the stage. I've seen it before. It may be probably a little bit larger than that, but not much larger than the stage. Now, here's the story. It's a pool of water, like a big old giant jacuzzi, right? And over here are 5 covered porches. Now, here's what the story, here's how it went down. People would wake up in the morning, lay under the porch to avoid the heat of the Israel sun. It's very hot there. They would wait for the angel to stir the water. When the water would stir, they would make their way over to the water. If they got there in time while it was stirring, they would be healed. If they didn't, they would go back to their home, sleep, wake up in the morning, lay under the porch, wait for the water to stir, and try it again. Okay? Now, this is where we pick up the story, a little bit of what's happening here in John chapter 5, verse 1. Afterward, Jesus returned to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish holy days. Inside the city, near the sheep gate, was a pool of Bethesda with 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, lay on the porch. One of the men lying there, help me out now, had been sick for how long? How long? Okay, hold on a second. He's laying under the porch. He's been sick for 38 years, which equates to more than 13,000 days. Now, just stay with me. Okay, you're that person. Go back with me 2,000 years ago. Okay, you lay under the porch. You wait for the water to stir. You don't make it. You're, man, I missed it. You go back home. You sleep. You wake up, lay under the porch. How many by the 4th, 5th, or 6th time you'd be like, hey, man, it ain't working. I'm not getting to the water in time. The strategy ain't working. I got to lay in the water. Maybe I got to get one of those blow-up rafts from Target and just lay there. Something's got to happen because my plan isn't working. Look, man, if you tried 13,000 days laying under the porch, waking up, trying to get there to the water before it stirs, you'd be thinking, I got to come up with a different strategy. Sometimes, and I think all of us can be guilty of this, including me and starting with me, we get stuck inside of the wall and our strategy isn't working. If you've been bitter at someone for 6 years, let me just tell you politely, your strategy ain't working. If you're in debt and you're like, man, I just keep getting in debt, your strategy ain't working. If you're addicted to something and you're going on year 9 being addicted to it, your strategy ain't working. If your relationship is not improving and you're just like, it'll get better, your strategy isn't, help me out, it's not working. This guy right here, he's stuck in the wall. For him, it was a sickness. We all get there. Maybe ours, again, is debt or lack of forgiveness or not where we want to be in life or whatever, addiction. We get stuck in this wall. He was stuck in a wall. His was different than ours, but he was stuck there. The reality is his idea wasn't working. But here's the truth. You might want to write this down, take a picture or whatever, but you can't change your future until you disrupt your present. You can't change the future until you disrupt your present. Something has to be disrupted over there. There has to be a disruption here in order to make this better. Follow me. Nothing is going to change in 2025 at all until you disrupt your present. Something's got to change. If you are in the wall for any reason, something's got to change. You have to disrupt your present if you want the future to change. I've written a bunch of books. A few of you that have been here for years may know that, but I've written a bunch of books. One of the books that I wrote called Quit Church, and it was about 4 or 5 books back. And it did by far, did the best of all the books that I have ever written. It did really, really well. And so it went like number 1 on Amazon, number 1 on Reddit, and number 1 on, I don't know, a bunch of other stuff. And it was at one point for like 4 days in a row, it was the fastest selling book in America. I'd never had anything. But here's the thing. You're like a hero for 8 days, and then nobody even cares. Hey, but whatever. So for like a week or two, it was really hot, and Fox News put it on. They did a little story on it. And we got 100,000 emails in 1 hour. It was crazy. But the book's called Quit Church. Think about how negative that sounds. The subtitle, because your life would be better if you did. Now, it wasn't about not going to church. It was about giving up your approach to church. Okay, I go to church, checklist. No, man. Go all in. If you go all in, God will go all out. If you let go of what's in your hands, he'll let go of what's in his. That's the whole idea. So don't get stuck, don't be living just kind of stuck in the wall. Get to the other side and go for it with God. Kind of a book, all right? Anyway, so the book's doing real well. It's kind of that 2-week period where it's doing real well. And I get off some plane late at night to go speak somewhere, and I think it was in Dallas or wherever, and I get off and I get onto the hotel shuttle. I'm on the hotel shuttle. This is when the book's doing real well for that little 2-week span of craziness. And right in front of me are these 2 ladies who I don't know, never met them before, and they're just kind of talking. I can tell they're Christian or whatever just by what they're saying. I'm sitting behind them just returning text and email. They're yakking with each other and talking. Again, I can tell they're Christian, but I'm just back there minding my own business. All of a sudden, stay with me now, one of them says to the other, I'm sitting right behind them on the hotel shuttle. One of them says to the other, hey, have you heard of this book? And the other lady goes, what book? And the lady goes, it's called Quit Church. And she holds up her phone. And I go like this. I look over like this on her phone and go, whoop, that's my book. And I'm like, all right, this is going to get good. And then the other lady says, Quit Church? What kind of book is that? Oh, I don't know. Some guy wrote. What kind of guy? Some guy from California. What does he do? Apparently, he's a pastor. This lady says, and I quote, he's not a pastor. He's an idiot. And I'm sitting right behind them. You can't make up. I'm not that creative. I can't make up this stuff. And so he's an idiot. And then they just go off. What's coming to this world? And one of them said, that's the problem with America. Because anybody says that's the problem with America clearly has the answers. And so they're just going off. And then, here's the best part. They're sitting like this. Stay with me now. They're sitting like this. They're yak, 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 yak. And then they turn around and they invite me into the conversation. Because they're so worked up. They're like, can you believe it? And I acted like I wasn't eavesdropping. I'm like, what? I'm just back here praying. And they're all, can you believe it? And I said, what? And she said, this book. And she holds it up on her phone. And I said, it's called Quit Church. Yeah, that's apparently a pastor wrote it. That's the problem with America. They're going off. Then the one lady says, have you heard of the book? And I said, I have heard of it. And then the other lady says, have you read it? And I said, well, I'll give you one better than that. I wrote it. And she goes, that's not true. She goes to her phone. I know what she's doing. She's looking for my picture. She finds it, goes up like this, and realizes it's me. And then here comes the apologies. They're like, oh, we're so sorry. I love this line. Had we known you were here, we wouldn't have talked bad about you. Spoken like a true Christian. We would have talked behind your back like God intended. And so we get off the shuttle and go into the hotel. The line's there. I'm standing in line behind them. And the lady's all, and she's all, so what is the book about? I'm like, it's not about quitting church. That's just a title to get people to buy it and get people all worked up. It's about quitting your approach to it, about being stuck in the wall, get to the other side. Then she tells me, she goes, well, I'm stuck in the wall. I kind of explained to her, we're standing in line at to get the rooms or whatever at the hotel. She goes, I'm stuck in the wall. I said, really? And I said, well, tell me about it. And she goes, 5 years ago, I divorced my husband. I said, well, why is that? And she goes, well, he used to abuse me and beat me every day. And she goes, finally, I just had enough and I walked away. And she goes, and for the last 5 years, she goes, I have been bitter at him and I can't get over it. She goes, I'm angry at him. She goes, I'm in a dead-end job. I have no education. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to live my life. And I'm literally, she's telling me, I am absolutely stuck in the wall. And I'm so sorry. I'm talking to her. And I said, man, I go, why don't you, I grabbed my backpack. I pulled out the book. Why don't you read the book? And that'll be $18.50. But why don't you read it? Don't worry. I've got a square here. And, but no, I gave her the book. And I put my email in there. I said, just reach out to me anytime, if I can ever help you, blah, blah. She goes her way, I go my way. We never see each other again. 2 years go by. I get an email. Okay, I open up the email 2 years later. Dear Pastor Chris, I don't know if you remember us. I'm like, oh, I remember you. Hold on a second. Yeah, I remember you. And she says, I don't know if you remember us, blah, blah, blah. Basically, she invites me to go speak at this leadership thing that happened to be a half hour away from my house. So a month later, I'm speaking to a leadership thing she invited me to, probably about this many people in these 2 sections here. And so I'm doing some leadership training. That's a lot of stuff of what I do. And here's what I come to find out, okay? She comes up to me and she basically says, Chris, you remember when we talked and I read the book and la, la, la. And I said, yeah. And she goes, I went back to school online and I got my license to become a pastor. I said, well, that's awesome. She goes, I've also been in 2 years of counseling. She goes, I'm not bitter anymore. I'm not angry anymore. And she goes, and this leadership team, it's not a team that I'm a part of. It's a team I lead. And she goes, I got some grants. I opened up a home for men that were addicted to substance and substance abuse and women that were being beaten. This is my leadership team. She goes, and I love it. She leans in and she goes, I got to the other side of the wall. And I love it. But none of that is possible, you guys, unless she disrupted her present. I could have met her 2 years later and she's in the same exact spot. The only reason it's different is because she disrupted her present. If you do not disrupt your present, the future will always remain the same. It's a very simple process. Now, let's go back to the scripture and pick it up where we left off in John chapter 5. We'll pick it up at verse 6. This is my favorite part of the story, these couple of verses, because they just jump out. Ready? Here we are. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked a very simple 6-word question. Would you like to get well? It is I want you to think about it. He walks up, the dude's laying there sick, 38 years, looks at him with a very simple question. Not deep. It's not theological. It's not like, whoa, boy, I got to look that up in Hebrew. Just, would you like to get well? Yes or no? It is a yes or no question. Now, what fascinates me is not Jesus' question. What fascinates me isn't Jesus' question. It's a very easy question. Would you like to get well? Yes or no? What fascinates me is the man's answer, because the man's answer tells me why he's stuck in the wall. The man's answer gives all the reason why he's stuck, why you and I get stuck. Look at the man's answer. Would you like to get well? Help me out now. Okay, hold on. All I asked was, would you like to get well? It's just a yes or no question. I can't. You know what he's doing? He's getting ready for a line of excuses, just like you and I do. I can't. Oh, watch this one. I can't, sir. The man says, for I have no one to put me in the pool when the water bubbles up. 2 words in white. What are they? Someone else always gets ahead of me. Oh, it's not my fault. Someone else's fault. Oh, let me tell you why I'm bitter. It's someone else's fault. Let me tell you why I'm in debt. It's someone else's fault. Let me tell you why I'm addicted. It's someone else's fault. Let me tell you why I don't have a college degree. It's someone else's fault. Let me tell you why my life's not going like it should. Let me tell you why I'm still angry. It ain't my fault. It ain't my fault. It ain't my fault the marriage ain't going. It ain't my fault. It's someone else's fault. All Jesus said was, would you want to get well? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. The man's answer went right into excuses. And that's the same thing you and I do. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. We make excuses. And here's the problem with excuses. Excuses give us the illusion of removing responsibility, as if we're not responsible. Hey, I get it. Maybe you were betrayed by a former spouse. Maybe you grew up in an abusive home. Maybe you didn't get a chance to go to college. Maybe you're whatever, fill in the blank. But at some point, you and I have to stop pointing at the someone else's in our life. Someone else always does it to me. We got to stop pointing at the someone else, and we got to say, it's my job to get out of the wall. It's my job. The Lord's with you, and he loves you. And I always say this, the battle belongs to the Lord. That's true. But the fight belongs to you. You got to fight and say, I want to get out of this wall. And here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want to encourage you to challenge the story you keep telling yourself. Challenge the story you keep telling yourself. And here's the deal. The guy couldn't even answer a yes or no question. Do you know why? Because he was so used to making excuses. That's the same thing you and I do. I do it. I'm guilty like you. We all do it. We all find a reason, an excuse, and then we use that excuse we all do it. We don't like to take the ownership. I remember several years ago, I got a text from my wife sitting at the office. She said, on her way home, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, she texted me, on the way home, can you pick up bread, milk, blah, blah, eggs, whatever. I'm like, okay. So on the way home from the office, I stop at the store, pick up 6, 7, 8 items, run them through. The lady goes, that'll be $25.87. Keep in mind, this was 7 or 8 years ago. Nowadays, that would get you an egg. Not a dozen. Don't lose your head. And so she's all, that'll be $25.87. I said, okay. And I pull out my card, and she's like, oh, the tap thing's not working. I'll slide, okay, whatever. So I slide it, put in my number, do all this stuff. Boom, it says declined. How many have ever had that happen before? Raise your hand. Let me see. Come on. And what do we say? I don't know why. I got plenty of money. You know we all say it. And you know what they're thinking. Loser, get out of the line. You know what's happening here. They're not believing us. So I did the same thing. I don't know why. I even threw this one in. I don't know why. I was at the bank this morning. I'm loaded. Just whatever. And so she's all, sir, you got to get out of line. No, please, just run it one more time. It's a mistake. Boom, she runs it one more time. Boom, declined. She's like, sir, you got to get out of line. Now the box boy guy, he's taking my stuff. He's going to put it back. The manager comes over. It's a scene, man. The manager comes over. The line is growing. Okay? And the guy in the back of the line, Pastor Chris, is that you? I'm like, no, it's his twin brother, Craig. I don't have a twin brother. And so it's just a scene. And then I tell the manager, come on, man, dude, just one more time, man. Well, let me slide the card. No. He goes, no. I said, no, just one more time. He goes, okay, I'll give you one more chance. He goes to reset it. I'm over here behind the counter. He's resetting it over here. And I look down at my card to grab the card. And I realize at that moment, I haven't been swiping my Chase Bank card. I've been swiping my Chevron gas card. So I switch down here where nobody sees it. Right? I slide the card, and it says approved. And the manager goes, sir, we're sorry. I said, I hope so. I have a reputation in this town. Now, let me be fully honest with you. And don't you love it when a pastor says, can I be honest with you? Because I'm always thinking, what have you been doing up to this point? But in full honesty with you, I did not own any of it. I grabbed my groceries, I grabbed my receipt, and I got out of there. I didn't apologize to the people in line. I didn't tell the manager, oh, dude, I was sliding the gas card. Isn't that funny? Nothing. I got out of there. I didn't want to admit it. Now, that's a little grocery story, okay? And maybe I admit it. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know, but I didn't. But let's talk about the bigger things in life where we just don't take ownership. And we have to, at some point, take ownership. Coming up with excuses is 2,000 years old. This was written 2,000 years ago, this story. And what's the first thing? Someone else's, not my fault. It's old as the Bible, man. And at some point, you just got to own it. I know what it's like to have those feelings of someone kind of, hurting you, bitterness. I had that happen. When I was still serving as the lead pastor of South Hills, I serve more of a global pastor role now. I remember one guy left one of our campuses and decided to start a church 2 blocks away. The church, that campus was running 1,500 people. He took 500 people with him about 6-7 years ago. Took a big portion of the income, created a huge problem for us 6-7 years ago. And this is a guy that I grew up in the faith. This is a guy that was a younger brother in the faith. And he did this to me. And it had been a long time since we've seen each other, and I was so hurt by him. And I ran into him recently with my car, and no, but I really wanted to. And I realized how bitter I was still at him. So in all full confession, I'm back in counseling because I don't want to be stuck in the wall. I got to get to the other side. And we all have to do that. And you got to take action to do that. Let's go back to the scripture and we'll wrap it up here. Okay, we're out of time here in a couple minutes, so let me just go back to the scripture and we'll wind it down. Here we go. Verse 8 and 9. Jesus told him, stand up, pick up your mat and walk. Instantly the man's healed. He rolled up his sleeping mat and began walking. Now, maybe you don't see the humor of this. I do. I'm a sarcastic guy, if you haven't figured that out yet. I think this is hilarious because the man goes, well, it ain't my fault. It's someone else's fault. And he gives Jesus his laundry list of excuses. Jesus doesn't, I think it's funny, he doesn't even acknowledge the excuses. All he says is, just get up and walk. It's, you're making a bunch of excuses. Not that he didn't care, but he's just like, just stand up and walk. It's kind of like Jesus was saying, this is what you're doing, this is what I want you to do, kind of a thing. It almost feels like just get up and walk. And the man gets healed and begins walking. I wonder if you were the only person in this room right now. Nobody else. You and Jesus in the flesh. Not the spirit, the flesh. He just sits next to you. Oh, could you imagine that? Oh, scary and awesome all at the same time. He's sitting next to you. He says, why are you in the wall? Why are you still stuck? And then you go into all this. And I wonder if he would just, after you gave him his laundry list of excuses, I wonder if he'd just put his arm around you, hug you, and just say, just get out of the wall. Just start walking out of the wall today. Don't live there anymore. There's no reason to live there. Not because he's mad at you, but because he loves you. Here's what I've learned. Put it on the screen for me. You don't actually always have the power to control, but you always have the power to surrender. You don't always have the power to control. Control's an illusion anyway. You do have the power to surrender and just say, God, I'm gonna do everything I can to get out of the wall. I will do my part. I know you will do your part, and I'm getting out of the wall. I don't want to live in this wall of debt, bitterness, anger, resentment, addiction, not good relationship, not where I want to be in life. I don't want to live in this wall anymore. I will do my part. I'm doing my part. I'm getting counseling. I don't know what your part is, but I'll do my part. And then, Lord, I know you'll do your part, and I'll get to the other side of the wall together. You don't always have the power to control. But you always, today, right now, at this moment, have the power to surrender and go, okay, I'll do it. Jesus, I'm all in. Let's do this. Let me pray with you, and then Seth will lead us in a song. But could you close your eyes and just respect the privacy of the person next to you, and let's have a moment. And you're probably used to closing your eyes at the end of the message, but could you, before you think about where you're going to lunch and what you're going to do and the day, could you just slow down for just a minute or two and have a moment with Jesus? Just slow down and ask yourself first this question. Is there any part of my life that is stuck in the wall? Any part of my life that is stuck in the wall? And if you are, like me to some degree, are you willing to do what it takes to get out of the wall? If that's you and you're just like, Chris, I feel stuck in the wall. I just want to pray for you, that's all. Could you slip up your hand real quick? Just you and Jesus and kind of us three together. Yeah, all over this place. Wow. Oh, Jesus, see all these hands, please, Lord. Help us to get out of the wall. See all these hands. Help us not to stay in the wall anymore. God, you'll do your part, but God, you ask us to do our part. Help us to take action, or if we don't do something in the present, the future is just going to remain the same. So help us to do something today. God, help us to do something this week that begins to get us out of the wall. I pray that. You put your hand down now. How many would just say, because this is the most important thing right here, the power to surrender. Is there someone here, maybe one of you, maybe 20 of you, I don't know, that you need to surrender to Jesus? Here's my life. Maybe you used to walk with him and you just haven't been doing it lately. Maybe you came to church, someone invited you, and you're like, I don't know, I barely even know anything about Jesus. I don't know, wherever you may be, but you're just like, this Jesus thing sounds great. I want someone to love me. I want someone to forgive me for what I've done. I want to have someone that's going to be my strength, my guide, my help. I want Jesus in my life. If that is you, I'd like to pray with you for a second. But if that is you, it's like, I don't know I don't know if I were to die this afternoon, God forbid, I don't know what my eternity would look like. I don't want that. I want to know where I'm going to go. I want to know what eternity looks like. If that's you, would you just slip up your hand and say, I'm not where I should be with Jesus, but I want to get there today. Pray with me. Thank you. All over this place. Thank you so much. So many hands. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, with those that raised your hand, I want you to say this prayer after me. And those that didn't raise your hand, would you just pray it out loud to support these people that are raising their hand? This is a decision they're making. We need to stand with them here at South Hills Burbank. Would you pray this prayer after me, especially those that raise their hand, but all of us praying it together? This is a prayer of making things right with Jesus. Say it out loud with me. Come on, let them hear us across the street. Say, Jesus, today, I invite you into my life. Wash me clean of all I've done wrong. From this day forward, I want to make you Lord of all of my life. You are the boss. You are my Savior, and I commit to follow you for the rest of my life. In Jesus' name, amen. If you have made that decision, you have made the greatest decision of your life. South Hills Burbank, Do me a favor. Let's show them how much we think about the decision they've made for Jesus. Come on, let's make some noise. Yeah. If you are new to this church or new to the faith, keep coming to this church. You become like the environments you put yourself in. Keep coming to this church and watch what God will do. Seth is going to lead us. Thank you, guys.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because a Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, or whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you and thank you for watching our online service today.